Okay, so here's our final 4-4. Again, some of these are hard to read. Like this, it says -1. So we're going to go ahead and compare a few things. So here it says Josiah compared the tables of values f of x and the graph g of x to determine which quadratic function has the higher maximum. So Josiah says that g of x, so the one that's graphed, has a greater maximum because it has an output value greater than 12 and its maximum, while on the table shows the greatest output of 12. Is his reasoning correct? So what he's saying here is he's saying that it is very obvious the maximum right here is greater than 12. And what he's saying is this table stops at 12. Well, here's something to think about with that. A table can go on forever. So that doesn't necessarily mean that this table has a maximum of only 12. Because I could put a 4 here and put my other number in a 5, etc. So what we're going to do is we obviously can see this maximum for this g of x. We don't know for sure. It looks like if it's right here, it's about 2.5, 12.5. Looks like the maximum to me. Yeah, because this would be 13 and it's in between. So what I'm going to do is just type in this table into Desmos, and then we'll compare the to maximum. So to get a table into Desmos, you are going to press this plus button, type table, and you just type in the numbers that go along with it. Oops. Okay, and I want there to be a line, so I'm going to click here, and I'm going to turn on lines. Okay, so if we zoom out here, it does look like it's arcing, but notice it doesn't show the full arc. So here we have 312 is like the highest that it's letting us go, but I could continue and do something with 4, and that could end up here. So it doesn't look like we have much of a pattern here. So we go up 4.5, then it goes up 3.5, then it goes up 2.5. Okay, so it looks like our maximum, if I kept going, is probably going to end up going a little bit higher than our 12.5 that we have. So on this one, I would probably say that Josiah is incorrect. And that's just because a table can go farther than the last number. So this does not have to stop at 3, and we'll kind of do that here over here, because number 2 says it wants us to find the maximum of each. So we know that the one, the g of x is 2.5 and 12.5. Let's find the first and second differences of this one. So this is -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. And we have 0, 4.5, 8, 10.5, and 12. So if we do 4.5 minus 0, so that gives us our first difference is 4.5. Then we do 8 minus 4.5, and that gives us 3.5. Then we do 10.5 minus 8 gives us 2.5. And then 12 minus 10.5 gives us 12 minus 10.5 gives us 1.5. So that's our first differences. And then our second difference, this is what makes it quadratic, 3.5 minus 4.5. These are all going to be negative 1. So we could extend here going by what we're going. If it looks like we have 4 and 5 here maybe. So it looks like each time, obviously it's going down. The second difference is going down by negative 1. So if I did 1.5 minus 1, so this would go by 0.5. And this would be negative 0.5. So it looks like this would be 12 and a half. And then let's see. So this is minus 1. This is minus 1. So it looks like our 5 would be going down. So we have 12.5 plus negative 0.5. So this would go back to 12. So our peak here, notice it's going up, 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 and then it hits that peak and it starts to go down again. So that's kind of important for us here. So if we go back here, we can finish our table. So 4 would go to 12.5, and then 5 would go to 12. So notice actually our maximums are the same. So we found this maximum by doing our first difference, then our second, and just finishing our table. Sorry, this writing is so bad. And then we finished our table, and then we compared it to this. So our maximums are actually the same. They're both 12.5. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right, so now we're talking about drone flights. They're flying drones. So we have a Corinne's drone and Ben's drone. They're just in different spots. It says, which flight began at a higher elevation and how do you know? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to type both of these in and compare them that way. So I'm going to get rid of this table and I'm going to add Corinne's function, which is c of x equals negative 3x squared plus 7x plus 1. Okay, so Corinne's will be red. And then I'm going to go ahead and add Ben's table in here. So he's at 0, 4, 0.25, 4.25, 0.54, 1.2, and 1.281, and 0. And then I'm going to just go to this wrench and turn the line on so I can see, and Ben is going to be in blue. Okay, so as you can see, we don't have all of Ben's. But we do have a y-intercept for both of them. So the y-intercept for Corinne is 0, 1. The y-intercept for Ben is 0, 4. And then the maximum for Ben is 4.25, and the maximum for Corinne is 5.0. So let's see what we can answer from that. It says which began at a higher elevation, and how do you know? So what we're going to need for that is the y-intercept. Anytime we're talking about beginning or an initial value, we always want the y-intercept. And we saw that Ben's was at 4, and then the y-intercept for Corinne was 1. So Ben was at 0, 4. Corinne, oops, it helps if I spell her name right. It's not letting me backspace. All right, I'll try it over. Corinne was at 0, 1. So Ben had the higher elevation to begin with. Then this says which drone began descending first. So here we have the peak, and it looks like it began descending around, after 0.25 it began descending. And then for Corinne, it began descending after this 1.17. So after the maximum is when it started to go down. So it looks like Ben's descended first. And that's what happens after the maximum. And then it says which drones had a greater average increase in height over time up to its maximum. So this is where we're going to find the slope again to figure out which one kind of grew the fastest. So I'm going to write it off to the side if you don't mind. So Ben started at 0, 4. And then his maximum was 0.25, 4.25. Sorry, this is not working well. 0.25, 4.25. Okay. So I'm going to find the slope here. So I'm going to do 4 minus 4.25 over 0 minus 0.25. So it gives me negative 0.25 over negative 0.25. So his was 1. And then we'll go with Corinne. Oops. Oh, sorry, this Wi-Fi is not helping these letters do very good. So Corinne was at 0, 1, and then 1.167. I'll have to probably go back to that. So 0, 1, and then 1.167. I'm just going to round that to 1.2, and then I'll round to 5.1. It'll just be a little easier. And then we'll find the slope there. So 1 minus 5.1 over 0 minus 1.2. Negative 4.1 over negative 1.2. That gives us about 3.4. So she grew fastest. All right, that is the notes for everything. Just go ahead and do those work pages that I told you to do, the ones that I circled in the talk, and at the end. I think they're on like 83 to 85 or something. And if you need anything, just email me.